Once upon a time, in a bustling town in Nigeria, two families lived side by side in harmony. Their homes stood so close that their doors were always open to each other, and their windows were near enough for conversations to flow freely between them. The families had daughters Zainab and Halima who, from a young age, were more than just neighbors, they were inseparable. Zainab and Halima did everything together. As children, they played in the dusty streets, ran through the open fields, climbed mango trees, and giggled under the moonlight. Their laughter was a melody that filled the air, and their friendship was admired by everyone in the town. Even when they bickered over who would get the bigger portion of roasted corn from Baba Neka's roadside stand, they never stayed angry for long. Their bond was stronger than any argument. As they grew older, their friendship only deepened. They attended the same primary school, sitting side by side in every class. When they moved to junior secondary school, fate ensured they remained together. They studied, learned, and dreamed side by side, and when they gained admission into a prestigious all-girls boarding secondary school, they promised that nothing would ever come between them. In the dormitory, they shared a bunk bed, Zainab on the top, Halima on the bottom. Late at night, they whispered about their aspirations, their fears, and the wonderful future they envisioned. Zainab was exceptionally intelligent. She excelled in academics, always ranking at the top of her class. Teachers praised her brilliance, and she received numerous awards. Halima, though smart and hard-working, struggled to keep up with Zainab's achievements. Yet, at that time, there was no jealousy between them, only admiration. Halima was proud of her best friend and always cheered her on. When it was time for university, both girls performed well in their entrance exams and secured spots at one of the best universities in Nigeria. Their families rejoiced, and their town celebrated their success. Together, they navigated university life, facing its challenges with unwavering support for each other. They shared everything: food, clothes, late-night study sessions, and secrets about their relationships. They were sisters in every sense except by blood. After graduation, the real world awaited them. The job hunt was tough, but Zainab, with her sharp intellect and charisma, was the first to secure a prestigious position at an oil company. She didn't forget Halima. Speaking highly of her friend, she convinced her boss to offer Halima a job as well. Once again, they found themselves working side by side, just as they had dreamed. Their friendship remained unshaken, and people often commented, "Are you sure they are not blood sisters?" Zainab and Halima would only laugh, believing their bond to be unbreakable. But then, things began to change. Zainab's exceptional work ethic and intelligence caught the attention of company executives, and she was soon promoted. When she was selected for a 6-month training program abroad, she hugged Halima excitedly. "When I return, I will bring you beautiful gifts," she promised, beaming with joy. True to her word, Zainab returned bearing gifts: designer clothes, luxurious perfumes, and dazzling jewelry. Her family and friends celebrated her success, but something within Halima shifted. At first, it was a mere flicker of resentment, but soon, envy took root in her heart. As suitors lined up for Zainab, handsome, wealthy, kind-hearted men, Halima's jealousy deepened. Why was Zainab always the lucky one? One evening, Zainab was invited to a grand birthday party. She had the perfect dress but lacked matching shoes. Halima owned a stunning pair that would complete the outfit. "Please, can I borrow your shoes?" Zainab asked. Halima forced a smile. "Of course. Are we not sisters?" At the party, Zainab dazzled everyone. "Oh, look at those shoes," people whispered. "She looks like royalty." But that night, disaster struck. Zainab fell ill suddenly. It began with a headache, then escalated to vomiting blood. She was rushed to the hospital, but doctors found nothing wrong. Back at work, things worsened. Colleagues who once greeted her warmly avoided her. Her boss, who had always praised her, became distant. Then, the unthinkable happened: she was falsely accused of embezzling company funds and was fired. Devastated, Zainab returned to her hometown. She spent her days sitting beneath the large baobab tree, tears streaming down her face. One evening, an elderly man passing by saw her distress and stopped. "My daughter, do not cry. The cause of your suffering is someone close to you. Very close." Zainab's heart pounded. Someone close to me? But who? The old man prayed for her and gave her herbal medicine. "Stay strong. You will heal." Amazingly, within a week, Zainab's health improved. Her strength returned, and the pain disappeared. But on the 7th day, Halima fell ill. Her leg withered, and she became bedridden. Overcome with fear, she sent for Zainab. 3 days later, Zainab arrived and entered Halima's room, heart pounding. "What is happening?" Tears streamed down Halima's face. "Zainab, I have something to confess." "What is it?" Zainab asked, stepping closer. "I did this to you," Halima sobbed. "I was jealous. Of your grades, your job, your suitors, everything. I went to a herbalist before the party. I knew you would borrow my shoes, and I saw my chance. I wanted you to suffer. But I didn't mean for it to go this far." Zainab was speechless. "You, my best friend." Halima sobbed uncontrollably. "Please forgive me." Zainab walked out, shattered. For 3 days, she pondered. Should she help Halima or let her suffer the consequences of her actions? In the end, she chose forgiveness. She took Halima to the old man, who gave her the same medicine. "If you do evil again, you will not survive," he warned. Halima recovered but lost her foot, a permanent reminder of the consequences of jealousy. Meanwhile, Zainab, though cautious, remained kind-hearted. Life moved on. Zainab found a better job under a wealthy and kind man named Idris, who admired her intelligence and pure heart. Rumors swirled that he intended to marry her. When Halima heard this, her jealousy rekindled. This time, she planned something more sinister: Zainab's kidnapping. But fate intervened. One of the kidnappers recognized Zainab as the woman who once helped him when he was hungry. Overcome with guilt, he let her go and exposed Halima's plot. This time, there was no escape. Halima was arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison. But she didn't last 3 years. She fell ill and died. The grand hall of the royal palace shimmered with golden chandeliers, their light casting a warm glow over the vast expanse of the opulent room. Flowers of every hue adorned the high ceilings and marble pillars, filling the air with a delicate fragrance that complemented the joyous melody of the musicians playing in the background. It was a day of celebration, a union not only of 2 souls but of 2 families, once divided by envy and pain, now reunited in love and understanding. Zainab stood resplendent in her bridal attire, a masterpiece of fine silk embroidered with gold and silver threads that reflected the light with every graceful movement. Her eyes, once filled with sorrow, now shone with a newfound hope, for today marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. The delicate henna patterns on her hands symbolized love, protection, and the journey she was about to embark on with Idris, the man who had once been the victim of a jealousy he had not deserved, yet had found it in his heart to forgive. Idris, standing at the other end of the grand hall, exuded a quiet confidence. Clad in regal robes of deep emerald and gold, he was the image of a man who had overcome trials and emerged stronger. He watched Zainab with a mixture of admiration and affection, for he knew how much she had suffered, how much she had repented, and how deeply she had transformed. If there was one thing he had learned through their tumultuous journey, it was that love, true love, had the power to rebuild what envy had sought to destroy. The ceremony was a spectacle of tradition and faith, with elders offering prayers, guests showering the couple with blessings, and poets reciting verses of love and unity. As Zainab and Idris exchanged vows, a hush fell over the gathering, as if the very air held its breath to witness the momentous occasion. Their voices, steady and unwavering, carried the weight of their past mistakes and the promise of a future built on trust, understanding, and love. Beyond the grandiosity of the ceremony, the true beauty of the day lay in the silent gestures of forgiveness and reconciliation. Among the guests sat those who had once harbored resentment, their hearts softened by the unfolding love story before them. Friends and family members who had taken sides in past conflicts now embraced, realizing that love and forgiveness were far greater than pride and grudges. The wedding feast was a lavish affair, with long tables adorned with the finest delicacies, from roasted meats and fragrant rice to sweet confections that melted in the mouth. Laughter and music intertwined, filling the night with an unspoken acknowledgement of the power of redemption. Zainab and Idris, seated at the heart of it all, were not just the bride and groom, they were living proof that mistakes did not define a person, but the willingness to change did. As the evening progressed, Zainab found herself standing beneath the star-studded sky, Idris beside her. The cool breeze carried with it the scent of jasmine, and for the first time in a long while, she felt truly at peace. "I never thought I'd deserve happiness again," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Idris turned to her, his gaze unwavering. "Happiness isn't something we deserve or don't deserve, Zainab. It's something we choose to build. And I'm choosing to build it with you." Tears welled in her eyes, but they were not of sadness. They were of gratitude, of love, of the realization that even the deepest wounds could heal when met with true repentance and genuine forgiveness. Their story, now complete in its imperfections, would serve as a lesson for generations to come, a reminder that jealousy was a silent poison, one that crept into the heart unnoticed, slowly corroding trust, love, and reason. It was insidious, weaving itself into whispered doubts and lingering glances, turning admiration into resentment, and affection into competition. Jealousy was not merely the fear of loss, but the illusion of possession, of believing that one had the right to own another's success, love, or happiness. It destroyed not only those who became its target but also, and most tragically, the heart that harbored it. But if jealousy was the poison, repentance and forgiveness were the cure, and antidote that required more than mere words. True repentance was a journey, not a single act of remorse. It was the willingness to acknowledge one's flaws, to bear the weight of one's wrongdoings, and to walk through the fire of redemption, without expectation of immediate absolution. It was the choice to unearth the roots of envy, to confront them with honesty, and to replace them with humility and gratitude. Forgiveness, on the other hand, was not an obligation, nor was it an easy road to take. It did not erase the wounds inflicted, nor did it demand forgetfulness. Instead, it was a conscious decision to release the burden of anger, to cease allowing the pain of betrayal to dictate the course of one's future. Forgiveness was an act of strength, of reclaiming power over one's own heart. It was not about excusing the past, but about choosing peace over perpetual resentment. The tale of their lives, their mistakes, and their eventual redemption became a beacon for those who followed. There were those who whispered of the folly that led to their suffering, dissecting their choices with the wisdom of hindsight. Others, however, saw in them a reflection of their own struggles, a warning against letting unchecked emotions spiral into destruction. But above all, their story was a testament to the transformative power of healing. Pain, when left untended, festered. It became bitterness, regret, and endless cycles of guilt. But pain, when acknowledged and nurtured with understanding, had the capacity to turn into wisdom. It had the ability to shape a person into something stronger, to deepen their capacity for love and empathy. In this way, their story did not end in tragedy, but in a profound metamorphosis. The wounds they bore, once raw and unforgiving, became scars that spoke of survival, of lessons learned, and of the resilience of the human spirit. Love, in its truest form, was not immune to hardship. It was tested, broken, and mended time and again. It endured, not because it was perfect, but because those who carried it chose to keep it alive. Love required effort, it demanded sacrifice, patience, and the ability to see beyond momentary failures. And in the end, it was love that triumphed, not because it was easy, but because it was worth the struggle. They had learned this truth not through gentle lessons, but through fire. It was pain that had shaped them, heartbreak that had carved out their understanding, and loss that had sharpened their appreciation. They had been reckless once, blind to the delicate nature of what they had held in their hands. But love, though fragile in moments, was also resilient. It bent but did not always break, it faltered but did not always fall. It gave them a choice, again and again, whether to abandon it or to fight for it. And so, their story remained. Etched in the memories of those who heard it, passed down through time as both a caution and a hope. The tale spoke of longing, of two hearts who had been drawn together by forces beyond their comprehension, yet nearly torn apart by the weight of their own flaws. It told of passion so fierce it could ignite the darkest corners of despair, yet so fragile it could be shattered with a single careless act. Those who listened leaned in, breathless, as they heard of betrayals, of whispered doubts, of sleepless nights spent staring into the abyss of regret. They flinched at the agony of separation, at the slow, creeping realization that pride was no shield against loneliness. Yet, they did not leave the story burdened by sorrow alone. No, there was hope woven into its threads. For after the darkness, there came light. After the pain, there was healing. And after the seeming finality of endings, there were new beginnings. They were not the same people who had first fallen in love. No love, no real love, allowed its bearers to remain unchanged. It transformed them, made them see the world differently, made them see themselves differently. It demanded growth, even when growth was painful. And so, when they found their way back to each other, they did not step into the same embrace they had once known. It was new, altered by everything they had endured, yet more profound for it. The road back was not smooth. There were wounds that had to be acknowledged, wounds that would never fully fade but could, at the very least, be tended to with care. There were apologies some whispered, some cried, some choked out between the weight of years of silence. And there was forgiveness. Not easy, not instantaneous, but real. Earned. And so, those who heard their story carried its lesson within them. It warned against the dangers of unchecked jealousy, against the poisons of insecurity and fear left unchecked. It cautioned against taking love for granted, against assuming that something so precious could be treated with careless hands and still survive unscathed. But it also promised that redemption was possible. That even the deepest wounds could find solace in the arms of understanding. That sorrow, though heavy, did not have to be the end. That the heart, though it could break, also possessed a boundless ability, to forgive, to heal, to love again. Perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. That even in the face of ruin, there could still be love. That in the ashes of past mistakes, new beginnings could take root. And that no matter how lost love seemed, as long as there was still a willingness to fight for it, it was never truly gone.